Hello, my creative friends. Welcome back to the Do It for the Process podcast. You are jumping in mid-conversation. We are in it. This is part 2 of a really practical series on how to sell your work during economic uncertainty. And we're centering it during the pre-holiday season, the fall season, where we're celebrating our efforts in the year thus far. We're gearing up for an incredible holiday season. All of that is coming to a head in this episode, which I'm so excited about. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. You're jumping right into a great episode. My name is Emily. I am a professional artist. I've been selling my work since my first group show in 2007, where I absolutely blew away my professor's mind by reaching and exceeding my sales goal. Great start, right? That was the beginning of my creative career, where I knew that I could make this career path possible, that I could do this in a way that might look a bit different than my professors even expected it to, that might look different from what the art world was saying, which, to be fair, was nothing. I went to art school, not business school. And if I had gone to business school, I wouldn't know how to sell art. So what do we do? Out of that, I have been able to create a lot of space in which I get to nurture other artists. I've tried a lot of things the hard way. I've learned, I've invested so much in my own studio growth, in my own personal and professional growth. And now I get to share a lot of that with you in spaces like this podcast, in spaces like The Collective, which you probably have heard about. It's a rich and beautiful and full space where I get to mentor creatives and we get to create community and safe spaces to grow. It's incredible. And interestingly, the doors are actually open right now for that through the month of October, which I'm really excited about. I also get to share a lot of insight in spaces like making artwork, which is a more intense version of almost like an MBA for artists, but in 9 weeks, because we don't have time to dilly-dally. So we're here to get results and to get knowledge and to just really dive in and make this incredible. Making artwork runs every spring because we want that spring energy in that, incubator of a space that works really beautifully in that time of year. But I will say I'm doing something new for me. I've talked about it on this podcast before, so you might have heard about it, but I'm offering a 2-day in-person event in Atlanta, Georgia. It is worth the flight. It is worth the trip. Atlanta is a cool, beautiful city. I'm obsessed with it. Actually, we go there at least like once a month-ish. And at this 2-day event, November 8th and 9th, we're going to be sitting down together in a beautiful space overlooking the city skyline in the best area of town, because I know the city and I know where to go. And we're going to be delving into your business and into your growth and your goals and what you want to do over the next 6 months, 6 years, 60 years. Like, how can we really expand your dreams and your vision? And the benefit of this event is it's intimate. It's small. There's not going to be a conference size group. It's going to be, you'll know everyone's names. You'll know everyone by the end of it. You will be cozy. I will know your name. We will be in the space together in this really intimate and beautiful way. And I'm very excited for that. Those kinds of connections are what I've been craving since COVID, which is why I'm creating this, which I'm very excited about. So come and join us. I'm offering the podcast listeners a really sweet little discount because we are getting closer to the event and I have just like a couple spots that I want to fill, and I really want you there because you understand. You're in this space. You're working on your dreams. You might be in your studio right now. And I just want people like that in this room with me. So because of that, I'm offering you a discount, $150 off. We have a block of rooms in a beautiful hotel where the venue for the event is being held. Anyways, it's just all cozy and beautiful and wonderful. Okay, let's get into the content today. We are centering this conversation on 7 tips for selling your creative work. In the last episode, we did tips 1, 2, and 3, and today we're going to get into 4 and 5. Let's do this. Okay, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you have the workbook that accompanies this whole conversation. It's called Creative Stability, and it's all about how to sell your work in any season, both calendar and internal season, and in any economic market, because things are always changing and always growing. And I've been, like I said, I've been selling my work since 2007. So I've been through a lot of economic markets, and I'm still here, and I'm still thriving, and I'm still selling my art, and you are and will be too. So go download that. We are referring to pages 14 and 15 in this conversation. I'm going to do a little recap about last week's episode. I'm not going to get into it. Go listen to the episode, but a really quick little just like points. Tip number 1 is to position your work as accessible luxury and a lasting investment. Don't skip this. So important. Number 2 is to offer multiple price points. Ooh, so good. And payment options. People want to pay in the ways that they want to pay. Again, last episode is really important when it comes to all of this. Number 3, which is where we ended last time, was to focus on gifting and special occasions. And now we're going to get into one of the best tips of all, building relationships through storytelling. Now, a lot has changed in the social media world, in the marketing world, and how artists have to share their work. You really cannot be a painter or an artist who just works away quietly in your studio for months and months and months, and then comes out with a body of work and assumes that you can sell it without any kind of conversation in the interim. I'm so sorry. I would also love that. It's just not the way things are working these days. It may have worked back in the 50s and 60s, but sadly, or maybe actually gladly, we live in a very different time. And people can access our work in different ways, and they want to access our work in different ways. People's attention spans are also very short. Now, how can we use this to our advantage without burning out? Because we don't want to do that. I talk a lot about this inside of the collective, about how to maintain your energy when it comes to sharing your work and marketing your work. There's a ton of content on marketing and a ton of content on social media, and it's really, really practical. Like really practical, but a really big overview about how to use storytelling to make that relational bond between you and your collectors is this. During uncertain times, people connect more deeply with human stories behind the purchase. Again, we're rooting this in the conversation of now that the economy has changed a little bit, and it does feel like people are more precious with their wallets, which is okay. How do we make these bonds? How do we make these connections? And how do we bring our work front and center in their minds as a really valuable and worthy thing to spend their hard-earned dollars on? Because it is. Creativity is one of the most regenerative and generous things that humans can engage in. And sharing your creative work is an act of generosity. So, share your creative process. And when I say storytelling, you don't have to be just telling a story. You're not saying once upon a time, I was a girl in my studio and now I have a collection of artwork for you. I mean, I guess you could. That's actually kind of cute. But what I'm saying is bring people into the story, into the feeling, into the creative journey of your work. So share your process. Share your inspiration. Share the energy that surrounds your work for specific pieces, for your overall reason for creating. You can make these stories really granular, really macro, or really micro. I forget which one's which all the time. I believe it's like my dyslexia. It's like, wait, is it big or small? Macro, micro. You can do both, big and small, macro and micro, whichever one is which. Use social media, use your newsletter, use in-person interactions, help people feel like they understand you. They understand your work. They understand why it matters to you, and in turn, why it matters to them. It's actually so regenerative to have this as a connection point and to have this as one of the most important aspects of selling your work during any economic up or down, which currently we're hovering in a weird middle space. So in that, make those connections really strong and really clear. I recommend to people that are in the collective, we have a space where we talk about like, what do you actually share? How do you actually, come up with content? I recommend making a list of all of the little connection points. And if the word story is a little bit too vague or too specific for you, depending on how your brain works, then just think, oh, that's a little connection point. That's a little connection point. For example, my studio table is in part of my bedroom, and I have paintbrushes here. I have my stacks of canvases here. I have my dead flowers here because I love dead flowers. Those are all little tiny points of connection. I created a little story in your mind about where and how I create. You didn't know that before, and that's so beautiful and so cool. So the more you can make those little points of connection, the better. I could go much more broad and say that I went to Europe when I was just about to turn 30. What year was that? 2016, with my sister. And I made an entire collection of artwork that was based on fields, and that jump-started my new body of work, which I'm still working in today. And I went to Europe and I saw all these billowing fields overflowing with poppies, and that created this body of artwork that I'm still drawing inspiration from right now. That's a much broader story. And again, you didn't know that before I told you. So what does your audience not know because you haven't told them? And again, it can be so small and it can be so big. But building those relationships, building those points of connection through storytelling are integral to making your work fit into their minds and therefore into their hearts and therefore into their lives. The emotional connection often outweighs the price concerns or any other inhibitions that might come in their way, because suddenly they want this. And when you want something, you find a way to get it. Not all the time, but often. Okay, the next tip today is to leverage local community. This one is so much fun to me, genuinely. When I was just beginning to really grow my business and figure out that this could be a real career, like a real, like, oh, there's money to be made here and I can make this how I pay for all of my bills and my house and my groceries and all the things. I sat down, actually, I won. This is so lucky. This is so lucky. But I won a mentorship with one of the best wholesale experts that I've ever met, Grace Kang. She owns some boutiques that are kind of scattered around the US called Pink Olive, and they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But somehow I got very lucky and won an hour of her time. And I still remember her telling me, Emily, this is when Instagram was just beginning to really pop off and become, a thing. She was like, Emily, you're really trying hard to be a big fish in an incredibly big pond. I recommend that you become a big fish in a small pond, which is advice that we all have heard. But she recommended that for my wholesale business in particular, that I start as local as possible. So start in my neighborhood and then expand to just outside of that perimeter, and then expand to the city itself, and then expand to the region. Expand, but start your energy where you live, where you physically are located. And it's so precious that humans still want to support our neighbors in this incredibly global economy and incredibly global world. We're still so likely to relate to our neighbors and to want our neighbors to succeed. It's genuinely one of the most endearing and affirming aspects of the human race to me right now. It's precious. So when you have energy to spend, think, how can I spend this locally? And it can be online. There's nothing wrong with being online. Trust me. I have grown my entire business online. I sell almost all of my art online. Yes. And how can I make this feel connected to where I live in some way? The sister to leveraging local community and making your energy spent really, really locally is to lead into word of mouth. Word of mouth marketing is always, for all of time, always has been, always will be one of the most effective marketing methods in the world. And when discretionary spending decreases, people often want to shop or spend their money where they feel very connected, where it kind of feels like, ooh, you have that, I want that too, I got that, I love it. And there's this common bond that happens between friend groups or between communities where everyone is kind of supporting and loving a similar thing. That's word of mouth gold. Word of mouth gold. So lean into that, participate actively in local marketplaces, in art walks, in community events, in open studios. Encourage people to come with their friends to the events that you're hosting and offering. Become a person who is not only known in your community, but who kind of is that glue, that aesthetic glue, or that like, let me give you an example instead. I'm trying to like explain how this works in motion. There's an artist in my community that began by running a gallery. Her name is Teresa Roche. She is beautiful. She's now morphed from being a gallery owner and curator, which she still does that. But now she also has a line of textiles and paintings and home goods. And there's this connective thing that she has spent years creating, years nurturing, where people in my community know. For example, if you have a Teresa Roche pillow on your couch, you have a certain quality about your home. You have a certain elevated stature in some ways. And it's just a pillow, right? It's just a pillow. But amongst our local community, it's not just a pillow. It's a creative way of life. It's a way of seeing the world. Another artist that's done this so well is Heather Day. I walked into a venue, the Joshua Tree House in Tucson, Arizona. I walked in and they had a Heather Day painting on the wall. I only know Heather Day online. We're not part of the same local community, but that connective tissue between me being a huge admirer of Heather Day's work, seeing it on the walls of this venue, feeling a connection to the venue and to Heather, there was just like this triangle of synergy. The more you can create that kind of triangle, which I know is ambiguous, like how do you do this? Start small. Start with small triangles. A really practical tip for this kind of abstract idea is when I recommend making your work giftable, you're creating that small triangle. You are positioning your work in a way that says, hey, come buy my work, give it to a friend. That's creating that connection that the friend doesn't know who you are. The friend doesn't know about your creative work. They don't know about the work that you do in your studio. But as soon as they're given your work, that connection is made. And suddenly they're a new fan, a new person, that the connection between the friend and the gift recipient is all about you. And it's connected back to you in this way that's very synergistic. And again, creating that triangle of connection. So I know this is ambiguous, but think about ways that you can create those triangles of connection, that you can create word of mouth connection, that you can create communal support, community connection, that you can be involved in your local community in all kinds of ways. And again, back to Grace's idea of start small, start local. It's much more easy to do these things locally. The internet is huge. And she gave me this advice at least 10 years ago when it was infinitely smaller than it is now. Now it is genuinely so big. It's still worth your time. It's still worth your energy. It's still worth your creativity and the ongoing support that it needs to keep feeding all the things, right? But your energy is going to go a little bit further, I would say, if you were to spend it in areas where people are going to notice you and be like, oh, you're local? It's so good to meet you. It's so good to see your work. I love this. Hey, come over and look at this person's work. And they're pulling over a friend. And suddenly there's this energy around your work that is just quite hard to manufacture online. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. I've definitely worked hard to do this myself, and it's worth the energy to do that, but it is easier in person. A couple of tips for doing this online is as simple as encouraging your satisfied customers to share their products on social media, to share a story, to repost something. You can incentivize this, or you can just request that this happens. Have an unboxing video, have a post that they can share to their stories or to their other accounts or wherever. I often recommend that people forward my emails to their friends. Like that kind of thing can be a way of, again, like creating those webs of connection. Amazing. Local buyers often feel better about supporting their neighbors and neighboring artists, local community members, local creatives during tough economic times. So that's something to kind of lean into as we step into the holiday season. And again, people's finances are limited. People's ability to just pull out their wallets and spend is limited. So because of that, they're more likely to spend locally and to buy the thing right in front of their face than they are to like go online and maybe find you in the grand, massive interwebs. So keep that in mind. Okay, so just to recap everything we've talked about thus far. In the first episode, we talked about positioning your work as accessible luxury and a lasting investment. Very important. Number 2, offering multiple price points and payment options, which keep at ease. You don't get overwhelmed. Just, make sure that your point of sale is accessible and that it makes sense to your buyers. Number 3, focus on gifting and special occasions. I love that one. It's genuinely so much fun, especially during the fall season and the holiday season. Number 4, we talked about today, building relationships through storytelling. Make those points of connection. Make your work integrated into their minds and into their imaginations. Number 5, leverage your local community and word of mouth. Again, if your energy is limited as mine is, then do the easiest and also the most effective thing. The easiest thing might be posting on Instagram. The most effective thing might be being in person at a local event. So kind of toggle between the two. Encourage word of mouth. And next time we'll get into 6 and 7. Okay, the collective is open and ready for you if you need a lot more, if you need some really, really good, thorough, expansive, centered, and grounded in real, lived and true experience information on how to grow your creative business, especially if you're an artist, a designer, someone that creates beautiful, handmade, thoughtful products. Join me in that space. It is incredibly important. And remember, even in quieter markets and in uncertain times, when the world feels especially painful for many, your art still matters. Your voice still deserves to be shared. Your creative work needs to be seen. In fact, I say this a lot, but I do stand by it. We need it more than ever. We need to see your work more than ever in these times. And it's an absolute honor to get to support you in that process. Doors to the collective are open through October 29th. Perfect for the holidays. Perfect for infusing your holiday sales with a bit of magic and a bit of oh, that's how I do that. Perfect. Very, very needed in this season for sure. So join us. It's very affordable. You can cancel anytime. You're not going to want to, but you can. Okay, I'll see you in there. Bye for now.